morning, and thank you for coming. Thank you for your support. We have another fantastic program this morning. My name is Janet Connors. I am your 2023 President and Co-Chair of the DEI Committee. And before we begin, I would like to ask Mr. Hurd, Greg Hurd, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Everybody ready? Yeah. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well done.
I like the Pledge of Allegiance because it feels unifying, and I'm grateful to Kimberly Wade for introducing it to our general membership meetings last year. Recently, I have begun reading a land acknowledgement because it feels grounding. And while there are many forms of land acknowledgements, depending on where you are physically located, one that I use and first heard from Ethan Brown is the following. I hope you enjoy this. As persons living in Sonoma County, and with gratitude, we recognize that we are on the ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok, Pomo, and Wapo, who are the original caretakers of this area. We respectfully acknowledge the indigenous peoples who have been stewarding and maintaining relationships on this land as knowledge keepers for millennia. And now I would like to thank Don Mills for sound ideas and the videos. And also Cuvée Brewery for their monthly beer donations for our guest raffle. And most importantly this morning, I am thrilled to announce that Ty Mooney has been promoted to Executive Director of the Sonoma County Alliance. Ty joined the Alliance's Membership and Events Director in October of 2022 and has quickly made a mark on the organization from impactful programs to member benefits and a new website. Ty's remarkable contributions during her tenure as Membership and Events Director have been invaluable to the organization. Her dedication, visionary leadership, and unwavering commitment to our mission have already made a significant impact in the organization. With Ty at the helm, I am certain that the Sonoma County Alliance will flourish as we work together to achieve our shared vision for Sonoma County. Please join me in welcoming Ty Mooney, Executive Director for the Sonoma County Alliance, to the podium for her Executive Director report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks, Janet, for the kind words. That's a way to kick off my morning. I just feel an immense sense of gratitude and honor to be entrusted with this role, and I'm really grateful for the board of directors and my predecessors who really laid the foundation for the success of the organization, and I plan to build on that. So thank you again. I'm excited for the opportunity. Onward. So we have a ton of events up and coming. We have a great event on August 24th. You'll see some flyers on your tables. It is at the very popular Mito Seafood Court. This is our quarterly Biz and Fizz networking happy hour. Thank you, Danny, for holding that up and for pioneering the effort here. Please join us, bring a friend. This is a great opportunity to introduce new people to the Alliance and to enjoy a casual connection. Also on September 6th, we have a great program on water resiliency. This is going to be a very hot topic, so please register early because I anticipate 120 people here. And then October 4th, we have a conversation with Generation Housing to talk about our upcoming housing needs and policy changes that are being proposed. So please be sure to mark your calendars and join us for that. We do offer sponsorship opportunities, so all of our members have an opportunity to get your name and your brand in front of all these amazing people. So please make sure to look those up. We have a $500 program sponsor. Next month we have Don Mills coming to help with our promotion. We'll have more on that in an email soon. We also have our Biz and Fizz sponsor, which we just talked about, $300. We'll get you in front of that crowd as well. And then of course, $100 is our pop-up sponsor. This is fairly new. This is an opportunity when we do self-introductions to shout out either a nonprofit, something you're working on, or an upcoming program. So please do look into those and take advantage of those opportunities. And last but not least, my main goal here with the Alliance is to grow and diversify. It takes all of us to do that. We make incredible differences in our community. We have since 1975, and we can only continue to do that if we can make educated, informed decisions based on representation. So please invite your friends, please encourage people to join, and let's continue to do this great work that we're doing. Thank you.
And now it's time for our introductions, and Ty will help us with the introductions. If you are a guest, make sure you give Ty your business card, and as she approaches the table, we ask that the table that's introducing themselves to stand.
All right, you guys are first.
I'm Tracy Russo with Hogan Land Services, and I have a guest today, Cassandra Cape, also with Hogan Land Services.
Good morning, I'm Christina Durkos. I'm with Personnel Perspective. So if you need any HR or training resources, come see me. Thank you.
It's $100.
Good morning, Frank Pip, Grass Commercial Real Estate.
And then I would like to introduce my guest at this table, so if everybody would stand up. Terry Updegraff from Sonoma Wealth Advisors. Dr. Michael Visser from SSU, and one of our speakers today. Ethan Brown from the Sonoma County Economic Development Board. Skip over to Amber Figueroa from Career Technical Education.
Hi, I'm Karen Moransky. I'm Provost at Sonoma State, here with Mike Visser today, and happy to talk about education that meets workforce needs.
Hi, I'm Karen Schneider from Sonoma State School of Extended Education. I also work closely with Mike.
I am Zach Kobo-DeLeon. I'm with the Economic Development Board of Sonoma County.
Good morning, Patty Andrews from the Sonoma County Economic Development Board.
If you have a business card, make sure you put it in because we have a really easy raffle.
Roy Martinez, Edge Strategies Group.
Tony Crabb, Puma Springs Vineyards, and also the chair of the CTE Foundation Advisory Council.
Brandon Jules, CTE Foundation. I have two guests with me today. I have Andriana Duckworth and Nina Cheek, who are both fairly new to the CTE Foundation.
Tony Spisman, 707 Promotions.
Tiffany Godby here from GMH Builders.
Maria Peralta, Common Ground Society.
Hi everyone, I'm new. I'm Taylin Knudsen. I'm the New Development Specialist for Common Ground Society.
Good morning, Lori Rooney, North Bay Biz Magazine, and I have a guest this morning. Rosie Padilla is our new Associate Editor at North Bay Biz Magazine. You can graduate
Paul Yeomans, Exchange Bank.
Chris Wilson with the Historic Railroad Square Association.
Teresa Scott with Western Health Advantage.
Good morning, Brett Wilmus with Stone Point Rock Quarry, Souls Plus, and Grab and Grow Soil and Company.
Morning, John Cregan, our Chief of Police here in Santa Rosa.
Good morning, Mark Soylent, Soylent Company, and board member at CTE Foundation. Ross Huscom, Real Estate Broker, Century 21.
Good morning, Matt McGuess, Marty Murray with Murray Insurance Services, her first time as an Alliance member or a guest. I'm Greg Hurd with BKF Engineers.
pretty sly, making it clap for you. Art Dexter with Duke & Dexter and Super Service Plumbing. I'm Rick Bossy with Exchange Bank here, hanging out with Howard and Paul.
Howard Dalton, still semi-retired.
Good morning, Dick Dowd, retired and past president of the Alliance.
Good morning, Laura Magnusdottir, 4Cs, Community Childcare Council of Sonoma County.
Rob Sandville, KLH Consulting.
Joe Gaffney, St. Vincent de Paul.
Danny Sheehan with the Friends of Smart.
Carrie Chambers, Community First Credit Union, and I have new to our mortgage department after 10 years with the credit union in Napa, Miriam Guilin.
Chuck McPherson, Leap Solutions Group. Steve Bertelbaugh with Friends of Smart.
Good morning, Katie Hillenmeyer, Providence, Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital. Sandra Ormerod, Sotheby's International Realty.
Good morning, David Brown, Adobe Associates, Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors.
Morning, Chuck Brew, Double Eagle Financial.
Mark Nelson, Midstate Construction.
Ernest Berghoff, broker and CEO at Berghoff Realty.
Good morning, Tony Toscone, Toscone Event Management Solutions, and Sonoma Marin Fair.
Gary Lentz with Loan Depot Home Mortgage.
Don Mills, Sound Ideas Media.
Andre Morant with Bralgy and Race Consulting Engineers.
Good morning, Carolina from Seniors Inc.
Dan Condren, member of SCA Pact.
Dennis Herder, retired.
Morning, Aaron Smith with Adobe Associates.
Jack Pollard with the Progressive Tribal Alliance.
Mark Stapp, Sonoma State and Santa Rosa City Council.
Mike Pickens, operating engineers, Local 3.
Good morning, Jason Lee from Sonoma County Office of Education. I have a guest with me today, Robert Inskeep from Yarborough Brothers Towing.
Good morning, Scott Ormrod, Leap Solutions Group.
Pete Lescure, Lescure Engineers.
Scott Kincaid, Facility Development Company.
Steve Click, Bauer Geotechnical. Doug Williams, retired.
And the Frankie Architect.
All right, last one.
Good morning, Kurt Nichols, retired, past president.
Good morning, Melinda Rivera, PG&E.
Tony Alvarez, retired, past president.
Kevin Zico, ZFA Structural Engineers.
Marlene Soyland, Soyland Management.
Paul Gilder with Anderson Hedgepeth Architects.
Ginger Baker with CTE Foundation.
Mark Hale with Carlisle Macy.
Thank you, everyone, and now we will have a drawing for a bottle of wine or a six-pack of Cuvée beer.
And then, want a bowl? You got the pounds.
Okay.
All right. Can we get one more? Perfect. All right.
Oh. So Lori Rooney, your guest, and Marty Murray. Thanks for coming. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our discussion on workforce development and retention with Ethan Brown, Amber Figueroa, and Dr. Michael Visser. Ethan Brown is the Executive Director of the Sonoma County Economic Development Board and has been with the EDB since 2012. He previously owned and operated his own construction business. Ethan is an adaptable, creative leader and experienced economic development professional. Amber Figueroa. You guys can join me up here if you like. Amber Figueroa is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships with CTE. Amber began supporting CTE Foundation's marketing, fundraising, and outreach efforts as an independent contractor in 2014 and joined the team full-time in January of 2017. She deeply enjoys developing partnerships and programs that inspire young people to see their path and creating opportunities for individuals to contribute to the common good. Dr. Michael Visser is the Interim Dean of the School of Business and Economics and prior chair of the Department of Economics at Sonoma State. Professor Visser is an innovator who introduces new courses and classroom constructs, including behavioral and experimental economics, not previously offered to SSU students. He also developed short-term study abroad courses to provide students insight to international business environments and practices. And in 2015, he was recognized by colleagues across the university with the coveted Excellence in Teaching Award. Please help me welcome Ethan Brown, Amber Figueroa, and Dr. Michael Visser.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. So, in economic development, and I'm sure many of us, we refer to the economy as an engine, right? So, what do you think that makes the workforce? Is it fuel? Oil? Pistons? It's all of the above. Without any of that, you don't have an engine. You don't pull out of the driveway. And we're facing some critical times, coming off of a recession, several fires, floods in this area, inflation, a higher cost of living, really bearing down on this county here and exerting negative pressure on our workforce. But we're not alone in that. We might have the dubious distinction of being right up there with New York as far as out-migration goes here in California. But we're seeing it all over the United States, coastal cities, even some in the Midwest, northern states. The most recent data we have is shown here on this slide, and it's likely influenced by the pandemic, but there's really no reason to believe that the trends aren't holding, even if the scope is perhaps a little bit lesser. I hope you all can see that there. At the top, you're seeing a positive migration to states like Florida, North Carolina. We know the states. On the bottom, you're seeing negative out-migration. California's at the bottom there with the most. New York is just above that. But people are also moving around within our state, and that's similarly difficult to read, and so I'll try to narrate it a little bit. Sonoma County residents are most likely to go to Marin County, Sacramento County, Lake County, Alameda County, or Solano County. Most of those have a lower cost of living, apart from perhaps Marin and Alameda County. However, there are a lot of residents coming from higher cost areas such as Marin, San Francisco, and other areas in the state into Sonoma County. But the net of all of that is that roughly 17,000 people moved out of Sonoma County over the last 5 years. And we're seeing a demographic shift as well, which I think we all are pretty much aware of. So drilling down further, the data shows that migration is occurring among younger populations. Between 2018 and 2023, Sonoma County saw nearly a 5% drop in its typical working age population, which is about 20 to 54 years old. The 55 plus demographic stayed about flat, mild increase of about 27%. And the trends are holding. We're projected to keep decreasing in that age bracket, though over time, not so much as the older cohort. So some of the contributing factors. Cost of living, precipitously higher than the rest of the United States, about 125% of the US average. The advent of remote work. You know, a lot of people moved out here during the pandemic. Suddenly I can't remember that word. Wish I didn't know it. And they kept their jobs here, a lot of them did. But when you live in another state, and it's time to change jobs, you're not coming back here likely for another job. So that is a net loss. And underemployment. I don't think it's a secret that we live in a county that relies on industries that really rely predominantly on part-time work. And when you have a cost of living such as we do, that means an individual or family needs to string together several of those part-time jobs just to make ends meet. It's going to lead to burnout and is a driving motivator looking for a lower cost of living. So one suggestion there, to the extent possible, is that as we look at the question, how important is it to keep our workforce here, to what extent can we extend benefits and full-time employment to those individuals to retain them here? Another huge contributing factor, and no surprise to this group, I'm sure, is the cost of housing. I'll narrate this slide because I don't think you'll be able to see it. What we have here is called the Affordability Index. An index of 100 or more means an individual in a given area making median income can afford a house with a conventional 20% down mortgage. Here in Sonoma County, what are we at? 36 of 100? In order to own a home in this area, you need to be earning 100, and with that conventional mortgage, you need to earn at least $130,000 a year for that household. That is $40,000 above the median income for this area. Childcare is a huge contributor as well. The average family in Sonoma County earning median income spends 20% of their income on childcare. If you're making minimum wage, that's 64%. And if cost is not enough of a challenge, finding childcare is another vexing issue. Many of us know that we lost 50% of our childcare slots or more during the pandemic, and those have been slow to come back. It's not a well-paying industry. A lot of those people found more lucrative employment, and some of the childcare providers that closed have had trouble getting their systems back online. This puts a huge burden on parents, forcing some of them to exit the workforce, having another chilling effect on the available workforce here. Just to make the case for further workforce retention, in January of 23, the EDB and our partners at the Workforce Investment Board conducted a workforce development survey. This has been done periodically over the years, so we can compare data year over year. Surveyed over 150 Sonoma County employers. That's not a lot. We'd like more. So when you see this land in your inbox next time, share it around, fill it out, please. The biggest takeaways were that 63% of respondents experienced hiring difficulties. 50% of the respondents said they received an insufficient number of applicants. This makes the case really kind of for looking inward and upskilling the workforce that you have, creating opportunities at the entry level. Good news here, probably my first bit of good news if you've been doing the math. 93% of employers do not expect to lay off employees this year, but we still need to work to retain them. So the benefits of community workforce retention, which is really the question that brought me here. Hiring people from out of the area can cost 2 to 3 times more than hiring a community member. They need relocation expenses, that sort of thing. They're going to need more onboarding time. You may have to pay higher wages just to attract that talent. Just the costs involved with that. Community members know local issues. So if you're hiring in sales, hospitality, agriculture, professional services, even for a nonprofit or philanthropic organization, These are some of the organizations and occupations and industries that really require a fair bit of local knowledge. So when you go back to that first question, the cost of bringing somebody on board and training them up is precipitously higher for someone coming from out of the area, out of state. And the final piece here really is sort of a measure of ROI. Curbing out-migration benefits the tax roll, funding for public safety, public health, and local schools. There's historically higher productivity and retention of employees who work near or very near to where they live versus the supercommuter phenomenon or even telework. And retaining a diverse workforce representative of the spectrum of ages, cultures, and lived experience leads to a more vibrant community and sense of place in general. So we were asked to brag on some things we were doing, and I'm actually going to brag on some things other people are doing for a little bit before what we're doing. Some local solutions to the contributing factors. We'll start with childcare. And I'll cite the Santa Rosa Metro Chamber of Commerce efforts here with employer-supported childcare. They're working to connect businesses with possible providers of care. They're providing resources and technical assistance and models and case studies to ensure quality programs. And they're serving as a convener and an advocate for employer-provided childcare. It's a huge benefit. Employers can begin offering their workforces a huge attractant for talent. Community Action Partnership has partnered with 4Cs to provide a facilities grant, provides money to build or improve facilities to help boost the number of slots that are available. And whoops, I want to go back. How do I do that? And it's unfortunate that you're not going to be able to see that table there. But when you get this later on, you'll want to take a look at that table there. You know, some of the factoids, if you will, about early child care or early child education. 90% of the brain's connections are made by age 5. 80% of parents say they will leave for another job that provides child care. And an average of almost 9 days of work are missed each year due to child care disruptions. What I wanted, do it again. And I pointed something else out because I can't even see it in that table there. It's an interesting case study on Patagonia, the outdoor equipment manufacturer, where they have some measures of ROI that are very easy to measure: tax savings, increased retention and productivity, decreased absenteeism. But coupled with some more subjective criteria, they've realized over 100% ROI on their investment in employer-provided child care. So it's an interesting little case study you want to take a look at. Local solutions to housing. Here's, again, the no surprise portion of my slide deck. Biggest piece of cost of living here is housing, no doubt. There are currently many housing initiatives underway. You probably heard of the Red Housing Fund, the Sonoma County Housing Fund, the efforts they're making at Santa Rosa Junior College, some of the planning efforts that the cities have made to welcome new homes. And I really want to do a call out to Generation Housing, who sounds like you're going to be hearing from in a couple of months. Have really hit the nail on the head with the advocacy piece, because for years we know that folks who go to the city councils to talk about housing are the ones that want to say, no, don't put that there, that's not appropriate, we'll fight this. But very few people show up in support. And so Generation Housing's really mobilized their forces to show up at these events and talk about, and armed with data, talk about how important those efforts are. And so if you haven't already keyed into them, I would suggest that you look into them. And I'll call out the Workforce Investment Board here. You know, they're another critical resource and local solution through a couple of different programs that are outlined up here. Regional Equity and Recovery Partnership, partnering with the JC's Early Child Care Education and Advanced Manufacturing Program specifically, providing training and certificates to students, and helping to retain them by providing a stipend when transcripts and grades are submitted, and another when the certificate or credential is submitted. So I think that's really keying into some of the challenges that people face in going back to school for certificates and things like that, is that break in income. So being able to provide some of that is important. Prison to employment is what we call this. It really serves any individual that has been in the justice system. It provides tuition for vocational training, on-the-job training, and transitional work experience, and supportive services. And supportive services refers to basically anything that provides a barrier or serves as a barrier to workforce development. So, if you're entering the trades and you need your bags, your tool belt is what we call it. You need transportation, you need childcare, you need a laptop, books, something along those lines. So it helps to provide those resources. And then Quest, which is specific to hospitality training. So they partnered with Sonoma Family Meal. And I don't know how many of you know about Sonoma Family Meal, but they're a kitchen down in Petaluma that provides training to people who have encountered barriers in employment and in life in general. They are placing students in 140-hour paid internships closely with employment partners and paying a wage of $22 an hour to start. They're also partnered with Loose down in Sonoma Valley, Catholic Charities, Cox in Petaluma, Cura, Petaluma People Service, Living Room, and a lot of other organizations. So it's a really interesting program. And then closely related to the WIB is JobLink, and some of you may have interacted with them as you've been looking for employees, providing assistance in finding qualified employees, providing on-the-job training funds which can subsidize up to 6 months of wages for a trainee or a new hire, and offering job fairs, everything from an individual business to entire industries. So really good resources there. Finally, I'm going to plug what we're doing. When I was brought on initially in that interim capacity, the Board of Supervisors and I saw an opportunity to broaden our scope. Maintaining a healthy economy that improves the quality of life for residents in Sonoma County requires community collaboration around some of the factors I've talked about here. We want to, it's accessible housing, workforce retention, attraction, and training, proactive steps towards addressing a changing climate and its impact on our economy, and implementation of equity and inclusion in economic opportunity and strategies, bringing everybody to the table, as you heard Ty talk about earlier with this membership. This type of thoughtful and hard-working collaboration has pulled us through some of the worst that the last 6 years has to offer. We've done it ad hoc, right? There's a fire, there's a flood, there's a pandemic. Let's come together to work around these things and disband once we fixed it. We're talking about doing something a little more permanent. To tackle challenges and take advantage of opportunities, the EDB has engaged community stakeholders to participate in a conversation about how we can better facilitate collaboration and serve as the backbone for some of these discussions. The working title for this has been EDB 3.0, and if you've been to any of our events, you've heard us pontificate about it. But that really represents the evolution of our department from pretty much the smallest county department, a one-man show for many, many years, to a decade ago, expanding to provide professional services to the business community, and now hopefully embarking on a mission that's inclusive of that work, but also addresses some of the other elephants in the room, such as education and workforce development, jobs and business development, and housing and community development. So currently, and we've been talking about it for a while and working quietly behind the scenes, we are doing an internal reorganization to create better capacity and agility inside of the department. We're evolving we're evolving our advisory board structure to be more intentional, more intentionally leverage a diverse representation of stakeholder experience and knowledge. And we're working more closely with fellow county departments to identify areas where policy and projects intersect with economic development. And we've been asked to expand our research capabilities. So more to come on that later, but it's really about building decision-making tools for our Board of Supervisors, local businesses, and others who are interested in that data. So if you'd like any more information on that, I can send you to my website, but I'll just tell you to give me a call. I'd much rather talk to you on the phone about the opportunities to get involved with that. With that, I will turn it over to Amber.
So we just heard from Ethan about the significant loss of young people leaving our county, projected over the next 5 years. And cost of living is certainly a major factor for that. But we at CTE Foundation also believe that lack of awareness about career opportunities here in Sonoma County is another major factor. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what we're doing to change that. I'm going to start with some really brief education facts. Our county is home to 40 distinct and independent K-12 public school districts. Together, these districts serve roughly 70,000 students. They are a very diverse group. They come from low-income households, and a lot of them want to stay here in Sonoma County after they finish their schooling. This is your future workforce. Our county is also home to 2 highly recognized colleges, Santa Rosa Junior College and our friends at Sonoma State University. And all of these schools are experiencing declines in enrollment, which is not a surprise, again, given the data that Ethan just shared. Now, at CTE Foundation, we're centering our work on the experiences of our students, meaning that our investment strategies are informed by student perceptions of their education experience and how that experience is preparing them for the future. We do this through surveys, conversations, one-on-one, focus groups, etc. And then we compare this to the national data to get a sense of what's different for our Sonoma County folks. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Youth Truth Survey. This is a survey, an annual survey that has been administered to students across the county for several years now. And according to 3 consecutive years of this data and 16,000 high school voices, Sonoma County youth rank anxiety for their future as the #1 obstacle to learning. Additionally, our young people rank the perceptions of their engagement and readiness for college and career at the very bottom of the scale. This is far below their California peers. When we look nationally, nearly 80% of students in a recent survey said that it was important to have on-the-job training such as internships and apprenticeships as a part of their education experience. And when asked what they needed to inform their post-high school plans, nearly all of them said that they needed more information about careers aligned with their interests. So now, the Youth Truth Survey allows us to take a look at the differences of perception between students who participate in career technical education and work-based learning and those who do not. And what was incredibly surprising to us was that while we knew career technical education experience was going to increase engagement and readiness, what it actually did was increase perceptions of the education experience across every single survey measure. So that's college and career readiness, engagement, relationships with adults and peers, academic challenge, and mental and emotional health. This data really serves as the driving force behind the work that we do. So we're in the final stages of developing a 3-year strategic plan, and this simple summary of the current education workforce landscape is really baked into the foundation of our 3 strategies. So employers need a skilled and motivated local workforce, a strong economy. Young people and their families need gateways to economic opportunity to build and sustain healthy and fulfilling lives here in our community. And students need relevance. They need skill building and career exploration opportunities to be future ready. So for the next 3 years, our program investments will be driven by these 3 goals. So number 1, We're going to build capacity of schools to transform, and we're doing this via the implementation of education pathways that are informed by our regional workforce needs and opportunities. Number 2, we're going to expand opportunities for career-connected learning for all students, doing this by engaging more employers in the development of career education pathways, work-based learning in and outside of the classroom, and as hosts for job shadows and internships. And number 3, we are deepening stakeholder partnerships to ensure student goals are achieved. And in this realm, we are expanding our role as the education workforce intermediary to break down long-held barriers to student-centered approaches to learning, and incentivizing collaboration across education systems and industry groups. We are partnering with EDB, SRJC, SSU, the County Office of Education, 10,000 Degrees, and several K-12 districts to energize the development of new ways of delivering the education experience through the lens of Sonoma County industries. We believe pathways are the way to give young people multiple and varied opportunities to apply their learning to local, life-sustaining careers aligned with their interests. I'm going to share one example of an education workforce partnership that we're especially proud of, and that's Sonoma Corps. And because we're all about centering student voice, I'm going to have Enrique tell you about the program. Let's see if I can make this work.
So I didn't know what to do after high school, and I got kind of scared. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? I heard about Sonoma Corps when I was a senior in high school. They had a presentation in the first month that taught us about this class that, oh, after you finish high school, you would get a guaranteed internship. And in that internship, the company you're in might give you some job or just more experience, something like that. And I thought, oh, that's really cool, because I didn't really have anything planned after high school. The teacher would say, oh, just come into this day, we're going to be practicing either talking, practicing writing a resume, but usually the field trip one is the one most people are excited about. The field trips were going to the companies. When we first got there, we went to the trains, and I was never inside the train before, so it was really nice seeing that. And they showed us the pit, and taught us some train fundamentals, like how sometimes they sand it if there's not enough friction, and how the train just operates. There's a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities that you get to talk to, just interact with. And I'm like, whoa, this is an actual place with actual people that have actual goals and actual interests that I can talk to and work with. While I was smart, I did a bunch of different things. I was a laborer, I was a vehicle technician, I was in IT, and I was in engineering, hands-on with your oil filters, hands-on with cleaning, hands-on with a lot of different things. And then you get in, do your work, you get out, and then your hands are all like covered in scratches and blisters sometimes, and they're dirty, and then your suit's all dirty, and it's really nice because like, oh, I actually went in and I did something, like I made something of the day, and I didn't just sit around. So that's the part I like about it. Sonoma Corps changed the course of my life. The teacher for the program, she talked to me a lot about what I wanted to do with life, what I wanted to do for myself, and what I wanted to do for others, which was hard to think about at the time because I didn't really know where my life was going to go at that point. But after that, and after getting the internship, now I get to think about it more clearly, where I want to go, who I want to be with, and what I want to do when I grow up.
I always tear up at that video. Sadly, Enrique's story is not unique. There are too many kids who are coming up on high school graduation and they have no idea what they want to do. They have no idea why college is or is not important. They have no clear direction, and we aim to change that. So we're working to scale this program to be able to offer internship opportunities to at least 100 students per year by 2026. This is huge growth, and we need every single employer in this community to be able to do that. This program is creating a pipeline of skilled, motivated, local workers for Sonoma County industries, and every one of our program completers reports that participation in Sonoma Core gave them the necessary experience, connections, and confidence to build their careers. So if you want to be a part of this, please reach out. And if you want more inspiring stories like Enrique's, go to our YouTube channel, because we have several. I'm going to wrap up with a quick peek into the future and a call for support. The state of California has recently approved $500 million in new money in support of education pathways aligned to regional and state workforce development needs. I can't emphasize enough what a big deal this is. Many of you knew about the horse trading and the negotiations that were happening up to the 11th hour, and there were rumors that this program was going to be cut or eliminated. Ultimately, we believe that the foundational goal of this funding incentive, which is to deliver a seamless experience for students from K-12 to career in alignment with regional and state economic priorities, appeals to a bipartisan constituency and was therefore preserved in the final budget. This funding opportunity incentivizes education systems to partner more deeply with employers to create future-ready young people and to contribute to a workforce pipeline that enables long-term economic health for all. There are 4 prioritized industry sectors: healthcare, education, which includes early education and child development, computer science, and STEM pathways that also focus on climate resiliency. In Sonoma County, an example of how we might tap into this last category is modernizing ag pathways to incorporate more environmental sustainability and ag tech concepts. Proposals are required to demonstrate strong employer partnerships and commitment to providing internship and apprenticeship opportunities for high school students. Many schools lack a deep bench of employer support, and so they're asking us for help to deliver and develop those contacts. So we will be convening education and employers, partners to develop innovative strategies and competitive proposals to bring as much of this historic investment to Sonoma County as possible. We need volunteers to participate in industry advisories to guide curriculum development, to support classroom projects by mentoring both teachers and students, and to provide job shadow, guided work experience, and internships ranging from 150 hours to a full year. So if you're interested, I urge you to reach out to me, and I look forward to answering your questions at the end of the session.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it on? I ask a lot of rhetorical questions in my classes, but this isn't class, so feel free to respond. This is a photo of me in the wild with a colleague of mine, Rich Campbell. He and I both started at Sonoma State University not very long ago, fall of 2005. We're actually close friends, but this is a photo taken at an event that we do on campus called the Spring Mixer. The Spring Mixer, we get a room at least as big as this one, sometimes larger, and we get maybe 150 students to come into the room, and 150 folks not dissimilar from yourselves, alumni, community members, and others. And we teach them so-called soft skills. This is a networking event. We teach people how to look each other in the eye, shake hands, try and remember the name of the person across me you've never met before likely, and have an engaging semi-professional conversation. These are the sorts of things that we're struggling to get students to show up for these days, but we continue to make efforts at doing that. I point this out because these are the things that we're finding to be really challenging in developing in playing our role in developing the workforce. Getting the students to show up. Once they're there, it's great, but getting them there has been the challenge, and I suspect that you're finding similar challenges with some of our younger folks in the workforce as well. By the way, Rich Campbell and I, we have something of a reputation on campus as those two Charlie Brown-looking guys who wear shorts all the time. So, one of the dangers of going last in a program like this is that other people tend to steal your thunder. Some of the data that I have here, I'm an economist, so I'm going to put some data in front of you. I won't belabor all the details. Some of the data that I'm putting in front of you comes from Ethan's organization. That shouldn't be surprising. He's talked about some of it already. So that actually makes my job a little bit easier. Here's just some information on some of the employers, large employers in the county. You can't see the numbers from here, that's fine. I knew you were going to get the slides, that's really what I wanted to put in front of you for. Healthcare is a big employment sector here, right? That's not surprising. Government is actually a large employer, and view that broadly. It's not just County of Sonoma, but Sonoma State University, Santa Rosa Junior College, they're parts of the government as well, and we're all large employers. And so those are probably mostly administrative services jobs, not necessarily education-specific jobs all the time. So a lot of administrative services throughout the county. You saw this one in Ethan's presentation as well. Just some of the challenges associated with workforce development and retention in particular. I think it hit national news recently, certainly some of the local news about Santa Rosa made some list as the least affordable housing market for first-time home buyers. Did you see that one? Yeah, not funny, right? Yeah. But it's true, right? We're all fortunate we've been able to get into the housing market here, even after the economy has softened a number of times. It still remains a very challenging housing market to get into. And that's if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, don't have support from family, friends, or a network, it's even more difficult. One of the things I'm supposed to talk about is the role of academia in supporting the workforce. One of the things that we can do, certainly as an economist, I can help you understand some of the nonsense information that you get from government agencies around things like inflation and unemployment and population growth and that sort of stuff. But I don't really want to do a whole lot of that this morning. That's not really what I'm here to do. I want to talk more about the role of academia, higher education in particular, in the community that we exist within. That's what attracts me to this work. It's not that I'm an economist, but that I'm part of the Sonoma State University ecosystem. And you know, I started there 18 years ago as an assistant professor, and I was, you know, pretty full of myself. I just got this brand new PhD and felt like I had sort of arrived, and very quickly learned that I hadn't. My students were very good at sort of saying, you know what, you're saying all these fancy things, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Or if it does, I'm not sure what it means for me. And so I had to find a way to engage with an already very different generation than the one that I came from, even as an assistant professor. And so that caused me to think a little more holistically about how I approach teaching, how I approach being a professor, and what that meant to me, and more importantly, what it meant to my students. And it really meant finding where they are and meeting them there. And that's an important part of looking at this information for me, is all these data that we get about what makes it challenging to retain a workforce, attract a workforce, tool up if you're tooling up, or to keep people in place and have a rewarding career, not just a job. All that information that we have, you have to think about the people that it represents. I had a great professor in one class, an econometrics class. Econometrics is data analysis, right? Economic data analysis. And I learned a lot about econometrics, most of which I've forgotten, but one thing I remember he said one day, he said, doing econometrics well means understanding the process that generates the data. That means that every number you see represents some kind of human behavior. Right? If you're looking at economic behavior, that's human behavior. So if you don't understand how that data came to be, you don't understand that behavior. But if you do understand, then you can start talking about the people that it represents. And that's what's important to me. Here's some information, again, from the youth organization and also economic forecast for Sonoma County. One of the roles that we're going to start to play a little bit bigger part of at Sonoma State University, we have School of Extended and International Education. Our executive director, Karen Schneider, is here. She's put some information on your tables. They offer a lot of programming for us that's not offered in traditional formats. We would call it professional skills development or non-credit programming or what have you. It's mostly workforce development. Now, you may be familiar with the idea that Sonoma State University and Santa Rosa Junior College are facing enrollment declines. That's forcing us to think about how we do things differently, why we do what we do, are there things we're not doing that we should be doing differently. And one of the things we've decided to do is bring Sonoma State University's Extended International Education unit closer together with the School of Business and Economics. So Karen Schneider and I have been working very closely together on matching up our talents and interests. And one of the things that we're really focused on is, in fact, workforce development. We think there's tremendous opportunity in that space for us. We're an institution of higher education, and we're accustomed to traditionally turning out people with degrees, right? But that's not where it should stop. Right? That's not the only thing we can and should be doing. A lot of students don't want to go to college. They just don't understand the value of it. It's increasingly expensive. Although I believe that Sonoma State University remains a tremendous value, it's just not the case that every student is going to go to college. Every high school graduate is not going to go to college. In fact, 30% of high school graduates in our region are college ready upon high school graduation. Only 30%. Now that's an issue that we're working on. Provost Moransky will tell you about all the things we're doing to work on increasing that number. But that also means currently there are 70% of high school graduates who are definitely not coming to Sonoma State University. And we shouldn't be ignoring that group either. Right? So there are things that we can do in that space in terms of continuing education, professional education, that match with some of these workforce needs. Right? There's a lot of things we can do. We have a lot of different programming for some of our traditional students. In the School of Business and Economics, we have a unit called the Center for Professional Engagement, and that's exactly what it is. We offer mentoring programs, internships, entrepreneurship, and innovation programming. We have our own Seawolf pitch competition that we put on each year. It's not limited to business students, by the way. We recruit students from all over campus. We tend to get a lot of students from engineering, just in case you're curious. Think Shark Tank, except Seawolves, not actual business professionals from TV, but we have actual business professionals from our own community. We engage with organizations like the Marin Sonoma Impact Venture Fund. This is basically an organization that helps finance startups to grow, right? And we're starting to bring opportunities for some of our students to participate in those activities as well. We're trying to talk with them about maybe there's an internship program we can develop with them. Sonoma County Job Link is another important connection for us, right? So you start to see that we're really focused on a lot of these different partnerships that we can help either develop or be at least part of. We're climbing down from that white ivory tower that people think we stay in. Actually, we've been down and out of it for quite some time. We have a number of programs that you may or may not be familiar with already. The Wine Business Institute offers programming, certificate programming in wine business. The Wine Business Institute got its start over 25 years ago because some folks from the wine industry came to us and said, hey, if we only ever treat this wine thing, you know, there's romantic notions about what winemaking is and the wine business, it's, you know, all those things, but folks who live here know that it's an actual business, right? What's the phrase, the best way to turn a large pot of money into a small pot of money is to open a winery, right? Or some version of that. So if you don't treat it like a business, it's not likely to be very successful. That's the real impetus behind the Wine Business Institute, and we were able to start the first wine business program in the world as far as we know. But that's not all we offer. We have some very successful, actually, programs beyond that. We have a construction management program. We have a project management program. Project management sounds really dull, right? Except I know that in this room, you all know what that means. And I think you all have projects, and if you don't manage them, they tend to come apart, or maybe aren't as successful as you might have liked. So I think of project management as something that can be applied a lot more broadly and generally than most people think at first blush. So do check it out. But there are probably a number of things that we could be doing more of and doing better. We probably have some things that we would probably call leadership or leadership development, and that can capture a lot of different things. Conflict management, leading through change, effective communication, those sorts of things. These are not limited to being valuable only to people who have a degree. These are things that are complementary to any sort of skill set you might want to deploy. My point here is to say that there's a lot of different kinds of jobs that you all have in your organizations. A lot of different people come to you and say, I'd like to work for you, but there are probably some things that we can do together to help develop all of that workforce, right? Any one organization may not have the capacity to have a leadership training program, for example. And we can't do that without your help. We need to talk to you to figure out what your needs are so that we can try and meet those needs together. And that's what we're trying to do within our organization. I recently participated in a summit with the Sonoma Wine Growers organization, and it was a very unique group of folks put on by the Sonoma Wine Growers. There were some professors from more prestigious universities than mine, and there were some wine growers. There were some people in ag tech, some startup, real innovators in wine growing. There was even someone from NASA who was participating in this group. And the topic of the summit was farming for the future. They're trying to envision, trying to develop a long-term strategic idea for how to advance, in particular wine growing, but farming more generally in the region. And they're trying to take a 4 to 7 year look out at things. So not short-term, long-term thinking. And it became very clear that a lot of what they were going to do was going to require partnership. Anybody who's been around any kind of farming knows it's just plain hard work. Right? I grew up in an agricultural place. My first Social Security wages were from picking strawberries. I drove raspberry pickers, bucktail. I've done a lot of this stuff. I did enough of that to know that I was going to go to school. But it's hard work, no matter what kind it is. And it's especially hard now. It's incredibly competitive. Land value is such that it's really difficult to make money. Weather and climate change are making it increasingly difficult for all kinds of farming activities. And so farmers, it turns out, are actually, more than many organizations, a fairly cooperative group. They need each other's success in order for themselves to be successful. And that's a large part of what this summit was about, is how can we work together systematically to advance the cause of agriculture. And I was at this particular group, and they're focused on agriculture and farming. But really, it's not about farming per se. It's about finding what's important in your community and being part of that deliberate growth, that mindset of advancing the cause. And a huge part of that is workforce. If you're talking about ag tech, it doesn't mean that you're replacing workers with equipment. It means you're bringing equipment in that need more trained workers to deploy effectively. And so workforce development is clearly part of that conversation as well. And I think you can find similar stories throughout any part of the economy, not just in agriculture or ag tech. So, Provost Moransky's here with me today. What's a provost? I'm not sure either. And she'll tell you she doesn't know either. That's fine. She's who I work for, but I think it means compassionate mentor, critical and courageous leader, and really good friend, and shoulder to cry on sometimes too. But she told me when I was at the Economic Outlook Conference earlier this year, we were talking about workforce development there too, and she says, hey, we should probably host a conference on workforce development. And so we don't have it planned, I don't have a date for you, but I'm saying it publicly so that she can't change her mind on me. I know. That's just my way of saying we'd really love to be in partnership with the community in helping develop programs for the workforce. That's really critical and important for us. We want to be part of the community in which we exist, not just sort of isolated off on our campus. I can't emphasize enough some of the things that both Ethan and Amber said about showing people what work is like. That's internships, mentoring, and trust me, you'll get more out of that than they will. If you're really engaged, it's going to mean a lot for you as well. So agree to be a mentor, agree to take on an internship. I know it can be a hassle, it can be a headache. We'll try and make it as easy as possible for you. We have great people that run these programs for us. That's a critical thing, right? If people can't see the value, you have to show them the value. And again, we're really committed for the long term. This isn't an overnight thing for us. This is my first time at this event. I hope it won't be the last. One of the things that struck me is the number of folks here who introduced themselves and gave their occupation as retired. And that is something that I aspire to one day. I'm not there yet, but they're still here, right? And so I hope that that's a goal for all of us as well. There's a QR code, you can scan it. It'll take you to our website. You can find out how to contact us. We'll be happy to be in touch on workforce development issues or anything related to Sonoma State University or our place here. Thank you very much.
I think we have time for a couple of questions.
By the time I finished high school, I had 4 different jobs, summer jobs. What does the role of summer jobs play in learning what a job is about?
I'll start that one. Summer jobs obviously play a big role in helping young people understand, some business basics about showing up, about calling in when they're sick or can't make it, and just being accountable. But what we have found and what makes our Sonoma Core internship different is that many times the summer job is not going to give a young person exposure to the broader business operations or to the really high opportunity, high skill, high wage career paths. It might be a very low skill, entry level opportunity. And so, yes, summer jobs are great, and internships, when they're properly designed, give young people a broader view of opportunities and the paths to pursue them.
I think it's always what you make of it as an individual. I've always been a very independent-minded person since as long as I can remember. So for me, it was about that independence, and that personal growth for me. But as a workforce, I think you need to think carefully about how people approach employing youth. I think that it's part of a socialization process into work and the value of it. But that also means you have to keep an open mind about The differences across generations. We have real differences across generations, and it's easy to be dismissive of certain characteristics that we find in some of these generational stereotypes. So try not to be dismissive. Do engage in employment for our youth. I think that's really critical. But don't be dismissive, or I'll say overly dismissive of some of those things that we might consider negative characteristics. Of course, it's bad if you have someone who's not showing up on time systematically, not communicating well. But don't be dismissive of those. Try and understand what that really means. Is that just a character flaw, or is it a symptom of something else? And I've learned that sort of the hard way a few times with students in my classes. Fortunately, I'm a quick study on most of those things, but paying attention to those things is really important as part of your business and community culture. So I really think that that's an important thing. It's feedback for the older generations that's important as well.
Thank you.
Clearly, this is a pretty complex problem. We've heard a lot of things over many months here at the Alliance around housing and the lack of employees and all of these things. If there was one thing that each of you could come up with that's a high leverage activity that the Alliance could get behind to help, what would that one high leverage activity be?
I'm gonna go first again. Help us recruit employers who want to provide these early career exposure opportunities for young people. Internships, what we hear a lot from companies is, oh, well, we have college internships. High schoolers, they're just not ready. They don't have they don't have what it takes, and it's gonna be too hard for our staff to have to manage a high schooler or a high school graduate. So what we have found is that actually these young high school graduates, it's kind of, what is that analogy? Whatever you water will grow. So true with these high school graduates. They get a little bit of concentrated mentorship and attention, and somebody who believes in them and believes in their ability and capability to grow, and they meet that challenge. It's really beautiful. So if the Alliance can partner with us to identify more employers to provide these kind of opportunities, I think that would be a really high impact, high value opportunity for our community.
Not to compete with you, I'm generally always very supportive of Sonoma Corp. I would say, just to be different, childcare. You heard the data that I gave earlier. I think it's the single most important thing you can do to get those that are in that workforce age, back bracket 25 to mid to late 40s, to work. It's a huge barrier for folks right now.
All right, so we only have time for one more question, but hopefully there'll be time after to circle back with our panelists.
Retirees. I was thinking about that question, and Michael, you brought it up. So, Amber, I see a lot of focus on employers and internships and this and that, but I know there's a couple of retirees in this audience who have been inspiring to me, Dick and Doug, and I was wondering if you could be, how or are the CTE tapping into retirees as a pool? Because someday when I'm fortunate enough to retire, I've thought I could go to SAY or what's the one downtown that the attorney DeMeo chops. Go to organizations like that and mentor some of these young folks, get them going somewhere. I couldn't offer them a job, but I could point to them some experience, some of this basic training, I'll call it, how to talk to an adult or whatever, how to show up for a job and not ghost them. So does CTE are you utilizing mentors, and how? Retirees as mentors, sorry.
We need to do a better job of engaging folks like you. There are lots of opportunities to bring retirees into the classroom to help mentor class projects, design class projects, mentor teachers in the development of those projects. And I think retirees would be a really rich resource for us, because oftentimes staff members of different organizations don't have time to devote to the classroom. So if you want to help us figure out how to reach more retirees and develop a core of folks that can support the classroom, we'd love to have a conversation about that.
Great, it looks like we have one more we could do here.
Hi, so I have two mid-20s kids in my household. Kate graduated in the middle of the pandemic and they are lost. And I keep hearing about programs for high schoolers, and I recognize it's easier to find them that way. But is there any programs for post-high school, mid-20s, to help them connect with some of these resources?
Yes, we have a number of programs. We would call them certificate or professional development programs, non-credit programs. But it is a space that I think we've not paid enough close attention to specifically target folks who either have not gone to college or don't have a college degree. We haven't really targeted those specifically, and I think we're in the process of developing some innovative ideas for things that might be interesting to this generation of folks who are in their mid-20s, whether or not they have a college degree. Things like, what does it mean to be an influencer? I think that influencer term is a little bit out of date already, and I'm not real excited about that as a career path. But there are a lot of skills that go into doing that are more universal than just sort of being a social media star. And so that's an idea that we're sort of playing with, because it's of interest to certain populations of about that age. And there are a number of other things as well. So we I know have some of those things. I know that Santa Rosa Junior College has some of those things as well. So I'm sure that we could do a better job of targeting that population, but we do have some things already.
I just put in another plug for JobLink. They have navigators there that can help assess, skill sets, what might be missing or needed, connect them with employers and opportunities and things of that nature, and it's all free. So that's a great, in addition to what SSU and the JC have to offer, that's a great resource.
Do you want to add anything, Amber? I'll just say that we would love to partner with one of our colleges to create a Sonoma Corps for 20-year-olds. There's a great opportunity there.
Great, thank you. Let's give a round of applause to Ethan Brown. I wanted to thank our elected and public officials for being here today. Mark Stapp, City Council for the City of Santa Rosa, and Chief Cregan for the Santa Rosa Police Department. Please join us on September 6th for another impactful topic, Water Resilience Sonoma County. Don't forget the Biz and Fizz on August 24th at the Matote Food Truck Park. And thank you all for coming. If you are a guest, I encourage you to join the Sonoma County Alliance. The Sonoma County Alliance is a business advocacy organization. Our strength is our voice, and our voice is our membership. So please join Sonoma County Alliance today and contribute your voice. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
you.